Okay, Luis, as you know, you've got 15 minutes. After your presentation, you'll have a seat and we'll ask you some questions.
Okay.
You can start now.
Good morning, professors. Today I'm going to present my research study, which is called The Impact of Social Interaction Strategies on Students' Pragmatic Competence Development in Adult EFL Context. Okay. Part of our human nature is based on interacting with other people. That's why we are called social human beings, because we live in communities and we socialize with people. According to Fisk 2010, the history of human beings and related primates, as well as certain other animals, can easily justify the argument that people need social groups for survival. Social groups defend people against environmental hazards, predators, and hostile outsiders. So this is an explanation of nature, explanation of why we are social beings. Okay, so we live in contact with social groups in our daily life, at school, with our family, friends, clubs, and so on. Okay, so this research will be focused on social interaction strategies. Okay, social interaction strategies are teaching techniques using to work in classes with peers or group work or those kind of activities. And according to Richards and Renandia, 2002, the ability to get along with people in society may correlate somewhat with how well a person can engage in brief, casual conversation with others or in an exchange of pleasantries. Okay, so the statement of the research problem. The identification of the research problem, I started practicum in September of this year in an English Basic 2 level. There were 25 students from 11 different programs. During the first classes, I realized that students did not speak to each other. Okay, even when the teacher asked them to speak, they didn't do it. Okay. In one class, at the end of one class, the teacher asked students to get in groups, and the students got in groups, but they did not do group work. They worked individually. Okay, so that's why I identified the research problem. Deficiencies in evidence and purposes of the study. Richards and Renee, 2002 suggests that since most EFL learners learn the target language in their own culture, practice is available only in the classroom. So a key factor in L2 or foreign language development is the opportunity given to learner to speak in the language promoting interaction. So since these adult learners are in an EFL context, that is the only opportunity they have to use the language and to practice their speaking skills. Also, Leon Lamb stated that in cooperative learnings, students can maximize their own and each other learnings when they work together. So, the importance behind is applying social interaction strategies in order to foster communication inside the classroom. That's the idea. This research aims to create contextually relevant social interaction strategies considering participants' perspective in order to foster pragmatic competences, developing especially the speaking-oriented skill. The research question and objectives. The research question is how may the implementation of social interaction strategies affect pragmatic competence development in adult students of an EFL context. And there are the specific objectives, from to identify students' goals in English class to analyze the whole process in terms of limitations and improvement from all the participants' perspectives. The assumptions. According to Rutland, students learn more when they are able to talk to one another and be actively involved. And also, according to Leon Lamb, 2013, in cooperative learning, students can maximize their own and each other's learning when they work together. So, as an assumption could be that students will will foster pragmatic competences through through social interaction strategies. The theoretical framework. Okay, there are 4 concepts that guide the whole study, and these concepts are EFL at university, adults, social interaction strategies, and pragmatic competences. EFL at university will be defined for the purposes of this study as the context in which the students are and where students do not need to use English in their daily life to survive. Adults will be defined for the purposes of this study as the participants in the research study. Social interaction strategies will be defined as the teaching techniques implemented by the researcher in order to hopefully improve pragmatic competences. And pragmatic competences will be defined as the ability to use the language appropriately. Okay, the methodology. Since this study tries to understand the effect that a phenomenon has on another and also try to change the results, it's a critical paradigm according to Collins, Emerson 2005. Because of the nature of the data that I collect, which was quantitative and qualitative, this is a mixed method approach, and it was built upon an actual research design, according to Burns, 2010. Well, the procedure. According to Burns, actual research typically involves 4 broad phases in a cycle of research. These phases are planning phase, act phase, observe phase, and reflect phase. In the planning phase, I'm going to apply 3 questionnaires. Each of these questionnaires is aligned to one concept presented in the theoretical framework. For example, the first questionnaire is related to understand a student's motivations with the English class. The second questionnaire is related to understand students, how they perceive the English in their daily life. And the third questionnaire is about the students' preferences regarding working in groups and developing peer work and those kind of group work. Okay? In the act phase, well, it's the actual performance of the activity. Field notes will be taken by the researcher in order to have a register of the performance of the students. In the observe phase, a rubric will be applied in order to assess the students' performance. And finally, the reflect phase, the focus group will reflect upon the whole process, including all voices in the study, the students and the tutor also. Okay, the subjects and key informants. Well, this study was carried out in Universidad, Santo Tomás, in a basic English 2 level. There were 25 students from 11 different programs. They were adults between 18 to 17 years old, and the total of students were considered in the study, all of them. So the research material. For the planning stage, I'm going to use the questionnaire number 1, the question number 2, and the question number 3. These answers will inform the lesson plan with suitable information in order to create suitable activities for the students. In the act stage, I'm going to take field notes in order to have a register of the performance. And then during the observe stage, I will use the rubric in order to assess the students' performance. And in the reflect stage, the focus group. The data analysis techniques. Okay. I decided to use ground theory for the qualitative oriented data. And for the observe phase, where is the rubric, I use a parity test to measure the rubric. Okay. So the trustworthiness. Regarding to qualitative validation, questionnaires, field notes, and focus group. In terms of credibility, The questionnaires were applied after a considerable period of time in order to students become used to the researcher, to make the answers be natural. That was the word I was looking for. And dependability. All these data is going to be available for anyone who can look for it. Also, in terms of confirmability, the data will be available online in written text. For the focus group, will be a transcription and a recording in order to be checked by some expert or something like that. In terms of transferability, as you know, a study is transferable if provide a thick description of the subjects and settings, okay, which was already made in the part of the subjects and settings, where I provide a thick description of the context. Regarding to quantitatively validation, the rubric, in terms of content validity, the rubric was checked by 2 expert judges who confirmed that all the components that a rubric should have were there. Okay. Regarding construct validity, the rubric was compared to another rubric. And regarding phrase validity, the instruction were clear to students. Okay. So they were given twice, the first one in English and the second time in Spanish, in order to make students realize of what they had to do. In terms of criteria related validity, there was also a correlation with another rubric. And in terms of reliability, I use Convex Alpha to ensure the reliability of the rubric. Okay, so the findings. For the planning stage, from the triangulation matrix, I wrote 3 major categories. These are motivations to learn English in daily life, and social interaction strategies. From the interpretation matrix of the field notes, I wrote 2 categories, group work and pragmatic competence. In terms of the rubric, were measured by a parity test that showed that the difference between tests, the pre-test and post-test, was statistically significant. Then it was measured the side of the effects of the treatment with the Cohen's D standards. And the side of effects was medium effect, with a score of 0.48. Regarding the reflect stage, from the interpretation matrix, I wrote 2 predominant categories: emotional factors and social interaction strategies. So, from the planning, from the questionnaire number 1, the students have personal motivations for the English class, such as business, for travel, or for more internal interests, such as listening to some songs, things like that. From the questionnaire number 2, students are exposed to language in many ways, such as music, TV series, shows, and so on. From the questionnaire number 3, students prefer to work in groups, but they prefer to be assessed individually in order to get individual feedback and mark. Okay, from the act stage, students work better in small groups and peers rather than teams. And whenever students start to develop more confidence, they improve their pragmatic competence, their performance was better. So, in terms of the rubric again, the difference between tests was statistically significant, as you can see. In comparison with the critical value, which was 1.8, which in this case higher. Okay. Here the probability of everything being random is 0.006. And the Collins D, it's not here, sorry. it was 8.48. It was a medium effect. Okay, regarding dispersion of text, the dispersion of pre-test and post-test is higher in post-test, and as you can see here. Okay, the mean for test for the pre-test was 9.90, and for the post-test was 11.45, which shows an improvement in performance. In the minimum and maximum scores, in the pre-test we have a minimum score of 6, and the post-test a minimum score of 9, which also shows an improvement. In the case of maximum score, in both cases was 15. So from the reflex stage, students like to work in groups, and they think that group work helps them to gain confidence. The students prefer to work in small groups or peers. So, regarding the hypothesis testing and fulfillment of objectives, answer there was a question. Students improved their performance as it was possible to see in the previous part that I explained before. The effect between the pre-test and post-test had immediate effects regarding competency. That's related to the rubric. Students said that activities that were carried out helped them to feel comfortable and lose the fear of speaking in English. And also, students from an EFL adult context were affected positively by the implementation of the social interaction strategies. So, as a limitation of the study, only 4 students answered the questionnaires, so not the 25 of them. And then only 11 out of 25 were present in both tests. So only those 11 students were the participants in total. And then only 4 students out of 11 attended to the focus group. Also, as a limitation, I only used 1 cycle of research because of the time. Because Bern suggests 2 cycles of research. Okay, the contributions on finding and future directions for research in this area. Students feel comfortable working in groups, thus it's as a conclusion. The type of social interaction strategies that may be used in the context. That is to say, in what situation I use what kind of activity. For pair work, I use this kind of activity. For peer, for group work or teamwork. So in this context, works better group work and peer work and so on. So other studies could be focused on designing specific activities for different social interaction strategies. Okay, one specific activity for peer work or one specific activity for teamwork or so on. Okay, regarding the metacognitive analysis, regarding the teacher's researcher's role, I used to think that the teacher was a person that only gives contents and repeats knowledge, but I realized that the teacher has the power to involve them in the student's life, which I think is pretty important when you are educating people. Then, regarding my strengths, regarding the internship, I was able to identify students' motivation, which helped me to create more assertive activities to work with them. My weaknesses is forgetting to give feedback, because I'm a very distracted person. And as a challenge for the future could be being able to give feedback, and not only summative feedback, also formative. Regarding my strengths for the research, I am able to look for suitable references, which is incredible because it makes the process faster. And my weaknesses is identifying the method behind my research. It's really hard to me to realize what is the method behind of what I'm doing. The challenges for the future could be identifying methods easily. And those are the references.
Thank you. You can now have a seat.
Okay.